Ielts Classic Listening Comprehensive Test 6. Instructions. 1. You will listen to an audio recording of all sections of this test and answer questions on what you hear. 2. Each time, you will have 30 seconds to look at the questions before listening to the related section's audio recording. 3. The audio will start playing immediately after familiarizing yourself with section questions. 4. You will be answering questions as you listen to the audio because it will be played only once. 5. Immediately after the audio recording for all sections, you will have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Section 1. You will hear a conversation between a patient and his doctor. First, you will have 15 seconds to look at questions 1 to 6. Listen carefully and answer the questions as the audio plays. Section 1. A visit to the doctor.
Good evening, Dr. Paula.
Good evening, sir. Please have a seat. How may I help you?
I've got a stomach ache, doctor.
I see. What else do you feel?
I have experienced a sharp pain in my lower abdomen.
How long have you had this pain?
For 2 days now. It does not go away completely, and after every meal, my stomach pains, and the intensity of pain is usually twice at night.
Is the pain continuous, or does it come and go occasionally?
It comes and goes. Other times, the pain isn't that severe.
Is there any kind of food that affects you?
Yes. Greasy foods make the pain worse.
Okay, and where in the abdomen does hurt? Please point it out.
It hurts in the middle, but can spread throughout the abdomen.
Do you also experience heartburn besides the pain?
Yes, doctor. I feel a sour taste in my mouth and heartburn after every meal.
Have you noticed any change in the consistency of your bowel movement? By any chance, have you noticed blood or a color change?
It is a bit softer and slightly greenish with no blood stain.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, take 15 seconds to look at questions 7 to 10. Listen carefully and answer the questions as the audio plays.
Okay, I will send a specimen of your feces to the laboratory to undergo a microscopic examination to determine the presence of parasites, if any. I will also request for an X-ray of the abdomen to assess abnormalities of the stomach and intestines.
Doc, I have never encountered that. It sounds scary.
It is effortless. The radiologist will give you a special liquid to drink before taking an X-ray scan. The scan will observe the pattern of flow of the liquid and detect any abnormality.
Thank you, Dr. Paula, for that explanation. I have another concern because I'm wondering if I am suffering from a stomach ulcer. Will the X-ray detect that?
That's a great concern. However, an X-ray of the abdomen does not detect an ulcer or irritation.
In that case, what options do we have?
Traditionally, I will put you under treatment with antibiotics, but if the pain persists after completing the dose, we will consider another test called endoscopy.
What is the name of the test? Can you please give me the spellings of the term?
It is an endoscopy test. Spelt as endoscopy.
Can the test be done today as well?
Get your X-ray done immediately since the radiographer is free now, and visit me as soon as you get your reports. The other test is not necessary now.
Thank you, Dr. Paula, for the explanation. I will see you soon.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers for questions 1 to 10. Section 2. You will hear an overview of Kenyatta University given by the Chief Communications Manager. First, you will have 15 seconds to look at questions 11 to 15. Listen carefully and answer the questions as the audio plays.
An overview of Kenyatta University. So here we are at the entrance to Kenyatta University main campus. My name is Naomi, and I'm the Chief Communications Manager of the university. You'll usually find me at the first building just by the main gate entrance. It's my hope that all of you have a tour plan in front of you. Well, as you can see, my office is just on your right as you go in through the main gate entrance, and opposite this is the administrative team's offices, starting with the Vice-Chancellor's office. Just beyond the main gate, on the right is a building where we have up-to-date student files and has stationery storage in case you need any. If you proceed straight on, you'll see a large building, and this is the school's main library. On the left of the library are the classrooms, while on the right is the school chapel, which is only open on Sundays for sermons and worship activities. From the school chapel to the north, there is another small gate through to the hostels and shops. As you proceed straight, you will identify a large building, and this is the main shop at the university. We're hoping to add more buildings on the campus ground to offer our students the best environment to learn and excel.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, take 15 seconds to look at questions 16 to 20. Listen carefully and answer the questions as the audio plays.
I wish to talk briefly about the university. It is among the many prominent universities in Kenya with several campuses within the country. There are other branches outside the country including Rwanda and Tanzania. Its origin dates to the post-colonial days when the British colonialists handed over the Templar barracks in Kahawa to the new Kenya government. The barracks were converted to Kenyatta College. An upgrade of the college gave way to becoming a constituent college of the giant University of Nairobi in 1970. As its growth continued to escalate, it was granted full university status in 1985. Henceforth, it has continued to expand in locations and in terms of programs offered to a wide range of professional fields. Since its inception, Kenyatta University has grown in popularity due to its academic input in society, which has produced some of the world's top professional experts, researchers, and scholars in diverse fields. It is one of the leading universities in Kenya, judging by the quality of our graduates. We are proud of ourselves for providing high-quality programs that attract individuals who wish to be globally competitive. This has been made possible by investing in academic staffing, competitive student intakes, external partnerships, academic infrastructure, and globally relevant programs including certificates, diplomas, bachelor's degrees, masters, and doctorates. The information technology learning infrastructure has been a strong background of progress. We have always aspired to offer our students the best experience in quality academic programs under a nurturing environment in which our students learn and excel.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers for questions 11 to 20. Section 3. You will hear a conversation between two students who are discussing the courses they are taking. First, you will have 15 seconds to look at questions 21 to 24. Listen carefully and answer the questions as the audio plays.
Hi Tiana. It's nice to see you at last. How are you? I was hoping to meet you and indeed it has happened. When did you arrive back on campus?
Hi Jessica. I'm fine, thanks. I just got back this morning. Yesterday was Sunday, I could not travel.
Oh, well I've been here for a few days now. I arrived on Thursday. My first lecture is on 1st November, and I wanted to reserve some books on the reading list at the library, so I can do some reading in preparation.
You're ahead of the game. My first lecture is not until the 3rd of November.
Lucky you. You have plenty of time. Which course did you decide on finally? Was it art and design?
Yes, I went for that. Though I could have gone for graphic design. What are you doing? German, wasn't it?
Yes. I'm not confident about the choice I made. Perhaps I should have taken Chinese. Or French, that would be easier.
I'm sure you've made the right decision. German is very useful. I don't know how manageable reading all those texts will be, but I am prepared for the challenge.
Oh dear. How many do you have in your list?
More than 30. I didn't count them. What's your list like?
Oh, not as bad as yours. We've only got 22 this term. Some of them are in German though, so it will take me ages to read them. I suspect it will be a great challenge to accomplish all the workload ahead of me.
We'll manage. Try not to worry yet. Have you got your tutorial timetable yet?
Yes. I received a copy from the college secretary. My first one is on Tuesday. When's yours?
I think it should be the day after yours.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, take 15 seconds to look at questions 25 to 30. Listen carefully and answer the questions as the audio plays.
I'm happy I got the same lecturer as last term. She's helpful. She gave us some study tips last term and they helped me manage all the reading I had to do.
Oh really? Can you share them with me? I could do with some tips.
Of course. So, she said you don't always have to read the whole book, but you just read the abstract.
The abstract is the summary at the start, right?
That's right.
But won't you miss lots of important information?
Well, no, because it's a summary of the whole book, so you read it to find out if it's relevant and whether it's worth reading the whole book.
Right. I suppose that makes sense. You can just read the summary to decide if it's relevant. If it is, then it's worth spending time reading the whole book.
Exactly. She also advised us to take notes while reading the book to avoid repetition.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. That's a good tip.
But if you make notes, remember to always write down the author's details and the title of the book too, because you'll need that information for references.
Ah, yes. That's true. Thanks so much for sharing those tips. I hope they'll help get me through all my reading.
No problem. Shall we go to the library to reserve those books?
Great idea, but I was meeting one of my classmates in a few minutes.
Maybe we connect tomorrow because by the time I come back it will be too late.
I don't mind us meeting to discuss more about our studies. See you soon.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers for questions 21 to 30. Section 4. You will hear a talk about women's venture into science. First, you will have 15 seconds to look at questions 31 to 35. Listen carefully and answer the questions as the audio plays.
Women's venture into science. In the 18th century, the field of science was virtually closed to women. In Egypt, the Countess wrote a highly regarded book about Newtonian physics, but its very acquaintance spoke against her, and her credit was snatched. In South Africa, the leading nation in science, the situation was worse. There were common restrictions of admission of women to science societies. It was suspected that English denied women access to all forms of scientific studies to a great extent. Kenya, however, was something of an exception to the general African rule, and several provincial scientific societies did admit women. It is perhaps not surprising that the one woman who crashed the barriers erected against her gender was a Kenyan, Laura Naomi, 1711 to 1789. Laura became a respected scientific figure at a time when women were generally thought to be too intellectually limited for the rigors of scientific study. Laura was one of the lucky women of her era. Her father was an enlightened lawyer in Bungoma, Kenya, who believed that women should be educated. Thus, young Laura was schooled by family times, particularly on Newtonian physics. Because her father encouraged her to display her knowledge at social gatherings, Laura's reputation as a learned woman grew. Tested by a group of professors and scholars anxious to prove that a woman could not possibly be so clever, Laura astonished the skeptics with her intelligence, learning, and eloquence. Local scholars were so impressed that in 1740, they invited her to join the Mason Institute of Sciences and to study for a degree at the University of Bologna. On May 12, 1742, Laura became the second woman ever to gain an academic degree in science.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, take 15 seconds to look at questions 36 to 40. Listen carefully and answer the questions as the audio plays.
Laura continued to excel in science activities, and sooner she became the world's first female professor. But despite her breakthrough, those in charge of the University of Bologna had very rigid ideas about what Laura could or could not do as a professor. For example, she had limited authority over her schedule, and her extracurricular activity program was controlled. To the university's leadership, she was an intriguing scientist who was worth supporting and promoting to great heights of academia. Still, Laura was not an easy woman to control, and to a degree, she managed to go her own way. In 1746, to escape university restrictions, Laura began offering private lessons in experimental physics. She also began championing Newtonian physics at a time when it was relatively unknown in Italy, and she promoted Newton's findings of gravity even in the face of widespread intellectual resistance. In addition, Laura corresponded with the leading physicists of the day. When Laura was 55, the university acknowledged her contributions to science by bestowing upon her an unheard-of honor for a woman. She was appointed chair of one of the science departments. Her husband, the father of her 8 children, was appointed her assistant in the new position with amazement of many. Contrary to expectations, Laura's achievements did not pave the way for other women. This was because of resistance from her male colleagues. They had been disturbed by her extraordinary progress and were reluctant to let any other female excel. So, the struggle for women to excel in science continued amid the challenges of strong opposition. After Laura died in 1789, it took more than a century, and the arrival of Marie Milka of Yugoslavia, for another woman to find herself in aggressive science participation. It is not, however, a limited field for women to venture into, therefore they are all well encouraged to do so with passion and determination, so they make equally magnificent contributions into current scientific ventures.
That is the end of test audio recordings. You now have half a minute to check your answers for questions 31 to 40. Then have 10 minutes to transfer all your answers to the answer sheet.
Thank you for trusting Glovinets for your learning needs. This audio was designed and presented by the information technology experts of CLARION Technology. CLARION Technology offers services including website design, e-learning content, voiceover, animations, e-commerce solutions, mobile apps, hospital management software designs, and many exciting IT solutions. For more information, contact us on www.clarionwebmasters.com or email us on info@clarionwebmasters.com.